A big warm welcome to everyone. Stand by, we'll be going live in just a moment. Oh, Pazuzu. Oh, it's coming. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host for the next 2 hours of live radio right here on TFRlive.com. And we are going out on iHeartRadio, TalkStream Live, TuneIn Radio apps. Just search for Truth Frequency Radio, where silence is consent and where we give you protection from deception. What a show it is going to be tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and any spiritual entities that might be lurking about, because we are going back down the rabbit hole of the spiritual warrior. Yes, Bill Bean is going to be our special guest later on here today in hour number 2. And with what myself and Bill have been kind of liaising about behind the scenes on Messenger and things like that, it sent me in a certain direction for tonight's show. And boy, oh boy, girl, oh girl, don't want to leave anyone out, you know. Have I dug up some really good woo to keep us going until Bill arrives in hour number 2. And it's all about a certain demon called Pazuzu. Yes, we'll be getting into that in just a moment. I've got loads for us to get into. A big shout out to everyone over at TFRlive.com hanging out in the chat room. And remember, if you're part of the simulcast, I really encourage everyone out there, go and open up the TFR chat room in a tab, hang out in there and get twice the experience. We've got Bill, we've got Bam, we've got the Wookiee, Sophia the robot, and me. We're feeling lonely in there. Come and hang out with us in the TFR chat room. And talking of hanging out, I invite you tomorrow, and I'm giggling, folks, because I talk about leaving you all waiting, kind of building up the hype here. I said before the start of either the second segment last night or it was the start of hour number 2, I was talking about how I had a major guest lined up and they were going to be coming onto the show in the very near future. Well, I invite you to come and hang with me tomorrow night here on the Kev Baker Show on TFRlive.com, because I am going to be chilling with the one and only Gerald Celente, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the man behind the Trends Journal, the most accurate trends forecaster that there is out there. As one year comes towards a close and another year lies just on the horizon, I thought, who better to go to? And what better time to get Gerald back on the show? I'm really stoked. I'm looking forward to it. That's all going to be happening here tomorrow night on KBS. Yes, we're stepping up the bar. We're raising it a little as we approach Christmas. And one thing that has been pretty much part of the Kev Baker Show for a number of years now, I think it's a number of years. Time flies so much, and when you think about the shows from my point of view, it's really hard to gauge sometimes how long ago a show was, or how long ago, or how long, should I say, you've been working with somebody. And Bill Bean was somebody that I was introduced to by Laura Maxwell, somebody who came on the show, and she was telling me, Kev, there's this guy that you really need to meet. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. And I get told this kind of thing all the time. But she made an introduction to this dude called Bill Bean. Now, little did I know at the time, but Bill would go on to become really, really important in not just my life, but my family's life as well. And not just that, some of your lives out there. Now, I was already kind of captured the moment Laura said to me, and I was absolutely choking, desperate to put a show on, because Laura said, you know, Kev, this is like a real life Exorcist. He does like deliverances, and I'm, whoa, hang on, an exorcist? And yeah, I was like a deer or a rabbit, the eyes wide and the headlights. I'm like, wow, a real life exorcist on the show. And bear in mind, I was just starting out at the time, and that was really exciting to me. And the paranormal, the supernatural, it's something that as a kid, it had always been there in my life growing up in the Highlands because it's a weird place. And we've shared many's a story about the weirdness that goes on up there. And I don't know if it's the ley lines, I don't know if it's the people, I don't know if it's the lack of sunshine, I don't know what does it right. But the paranormal had been there in my life, albeit I hadn't had that big kind of paranormal experience myself. Now, that being said, I certainly appreciated the fact that there is a spiritual aspect to everything. So Bill comes along, and we've got this real life exorcist. And when I was preparing for that first show, I remember it so well because I think the minute you hear exorcist, if you're of a certain age, your mind is immediately thrust back to a certain film, right? You know the film. It's of the same name. And that's what I always thought of when I was first getting to know Bill, how exciting it was to be able to speak to a real life exorcist. And at that point, folks, the only thing I really knew about exorcists or exorcism, well, it came from that very film that I'm talking about. And it all had to do with and centered around a demon called Pazuzu.
How old are you?
12.
Is there someone inside you?
Sometimes.
I'm speaking to the person inside of Reagan now.
Whoa.
You're there, you two are hypnotized. I must answer all my questions. Come forward.
Now there, ladies and gentlemen, that guttural, horrible growl. Some of you who have seen the film The Exorcist, you'll probably be thrust back to the time when you watched that. And for me, that was my dealings, that was my knowledge of exorcists, exorcisms. It really was. I didn't have any great depth of knowledge on demons or anything like that. And anytime I'd heard the word exorcist or exorcism, that's immediately what I would start thinking of. And I never knew that there was a specific demon attached to this movie. Now, for me growing up, demons were demons, devils are devils, bad things are bad things, right? I didn't realize there was like a hierarchy and a structure to all of this. But it is Pazuzu that the exorcist in the movie, that's who he goes up against, and that's who takes over Regan. Now, it may be a movie. However, this entity, this thing, this demon that goes by the name of Pazuzu, there's nothing new or fictional about that. And in fact, it's regarded as, and it comes from Judeo-Christian culture, obviously, but the prince of demons. And what this does is, what its special, unique power is in the hierarchy, aside from the fact it's almost the heir to the throne, about to be the king of demons, as we'll go on to find out, it's able to possess, it's able to inhabit, indwell the body, not only of humans, but also animals, as well, as I've come to learn today. It's really, really weird. And we're going to take a look at some of the history of this demon. And then we're going to take a look at some of the stories that are still around today about this particular demon and how it does tie in with everything that Bill Bean is up against right now. And this is where the weirdness comes in, because there's a link to Bill Bean and Pazuzu right now. And we know that Bill has been almost tortured by those Mandela effects, right? It seems to be really, really wreaking havoc in Bill's life, be it from the Bible to everything you can imagine. And he's come across another one. And to me, it certainly sounds like it could be Pazuzu related. Now, what's even weirder, and what obviously I didn't know in putting the show together, was that one of our own, Armand, we've all come to know and love Armand, right? He comes on the show. He's a long-time TFR listener. He comes over to the live streams as well. And we all love Armand dearly. And he comes on here and he shares his inside kind of knowledge on the occult and things. And before the show, I noticed Armand saying something almost kind of strange in the chat room. And he was talking about how he had seen the poster of Bill and Pazuzu for this show a couple of days ago. I'm thinking, well, cool. It's one of my better posters. I get that. Quite cool, right? You got Bill, you got Pazuzu. But I only put this together last night, folks. I only put it together last night. I've noticed I put a mistake on it anyway. I've got the 2nd of December instead of the 3rd. Amateur rookie hour. But yeah, Armand himself, and I don't know if he's even still with us, because Armand was quite affected when he realised that I only put that poster together last night and put it out as a thumbnail for this stream about, say, maybe an hour, 2 hours after the show last night. Now, Armand says he's been doing a lot of modding. Armand is quite active on YouTube. He does modding for a YouTube channel called King Frostmare. Brilliant channel. We've enjoyed many, many moments from the work that King Frost does over there. Big shout out to him. But Armand was saying how the name of Pazuzu kept on coming up. That's why I'm starting to think there might be a bit of a Pazuzu puzzle going on right now. And hopefully in hour number 2, when Bill Bean joins us, we'll be able to dig deeper, hopefully unravel the mystery around Pazuzu and the effect that it, because it's a thing. You may not believe in demons and things that go bump in the night, but you don't need to. I get it. You haven't experienced it. It sounds absolutely ridiculous, some of the things we talk about on here. But always keep an open mind, folks. Always keep an open mind. That's what I say. And yeah, we're going to try and dig down deeper into this and see if we can figure out how Pazuzu is actually affecting our reality right now. Literally our reality around us. And our reality in recent times has already become quite fluid, right? Who knows, one day to the next, what anything is going to be all about. Mandela's, anyone? So yeah, we're going to come back into that when Bill comes on. But I've got a lot more Pazuzu-related stuff here. And I hope if Armand is out there, Armand, I think it's probably best if you are still listening, like you said originally, take a night away from it. Because when we put energy and attention into anything, where attention goes, energy flows. And perhaps, you know, maybe Armand, if he is seeing a lot of this Pazuzu stuff around and he was having strange dreams as well, remember? I care about all of you out there. That's why, you know, it might not seem like it, but when you're doing shows like this, especially these kind of topics, it comes with a heavy weight of responsibility because I don't know what knock-on effects it may have in the real world for you people out there. And Armand shared his story, and there may be others out there who are affected when we go into these topics. And that really gets to me. And don't think I'm oblivious to that. I'm very conscious of it. I sometimes wonder if me talking about the paranormal and the woo and all the rest of it was what helped manifest that shadow dude, or that shadow thing, because there's only one shadow dude, right? And it's at Carmel, Maine. But I wonder if I in some way helped to manifest that. Because I was always talking woo. I was always getting into the woo. And of course I went to Crowley's too, but that's another story altogether. And I just need to take a drink of coffee. 2 seconds, folks. Yes, indeed. I tell you, I couldn't do this show without coffee. It's a lifesaver. And sent some lovely coffee from Jules over in the USA. It's absolutely stunning. And I'm actually quite in 2 minds to drink this or not, because I do want to get to bed at some point tonight. And the coffee from the US is real coffee, right? Our coffee over here, I don't know what they do with it. I don't know what they're probably scared in case the bitterness or the strength of it offends anyone in the UK. So they give us politically correct coffee. They probably take the colour out of it. I'm being funny, jokes. I'm being funny, folks. I'm being funny. So yes, let's get back into it. And what is really so horrible right now is I have got deja vu. Holy hell, what is going on here today? Is it going to be one of these shows where something weird starts kind of rumbling on throughout the show? If we start getting glitches, I'm out of here, folks. But I took a look at the TFR chat room there, and there's a gif of a scary face, right? And Silamo says, Pazuzu. Now, when I'm reading that and I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, I've looked at this and I've read this before. Have we done this show before? Why are we back doing it again just now? Is there deeper meaning to it? Woo, let's get into the Pazuzu. Because I've got so much here. And we'll get through some kind of Pazuzu trivia about the movie first. And then we'll move deeper into the true history of what we're talking about here. And it's something very real. It's something very dark. And it's something, dare I say, very, very evil. And it's close. It's closer to our world today that I think, my speculation, than at any other time. But we go here and we'll get some of the 30 crazy details behind the making of The Exorcist. I won't go through all of them, but some of them are quite interesting. Number 30, a priest was asked to bless the set after it caught on fire. And there is a bit of lore about some of the mishaps, the misfortunate kind of events that surrounded the making of the movie. I'm providing you decide. It could be some curse, it could be the demon, who knows. But getting right back into this list here, folks, it says 29, some theatres actually handed out barf bags. 28, Linda Blair got bodyguards after the movie was released. And 27, many people linked to the movie met tragic ends. It says, well, it doesn't happen all of the time. Some cast and crew members do pass away while making a movie. What's strange about The Exorcist is that a total of 9 people passing are said to be linked to the movie. Actors Jack McGowan and Vasiliki Maliaros both passed away after filming commenced. But what's truly weird is that both of the characters passed away in the film as well. Linda Blair's grandfather, Max von Sydow's brother, a night watchman, and a special effects expert all also lost their lives during and after production of The Exorcist. That's quite weird. So 26, it was based on a true story. And The Exorcism of Doe is said to have taken weeks to perform in a home in Missouri in 1949. That's basically what it was based on. And number 25, the spider walk scene was originally cut. 24, pretty crap. No, scrolling down. Ellen Burstyn called the director a maniac. It's Hollywood. What did you expect? Mercedes Mccambridge voiced the demon, and later she experienced a tragedy. While Linda Blair gave an incredible performance at the age of 14, the voice of the demon was actually done by a radio and film actress, Mercedes Mccambridge. Now, the actress added a startling dimension to the movie by supplying a chilling voice that I can hear right now. You would never imagine coming from a little girl. And what's even more interesting is that Mccambridge even gave up her sobriety to make some voice seem as authentic as possible. And in 1987, she also faced a tragedy when her son ended the life of his wife, children, and himself. The next one says the white-faced demon was actually rejected makeup artists or makeup tests. And this is the weird bit because that's the image that gave me the deja vu just a moment ago in the chat room. Oh, can you have deja vu before you see... let's not get there, right? The set was refrigerated. I didn't know that. The filmmakers used low-tech special effects, but scary nonetheless. The poster was inspired by a famous painting. The original teaser trailer was banned in some theatres, and I'm going to go for the last 3 now, because I'm conscious of the time, and we've got a lot more to get in here. Stanley Kubrick was considered to direct. Now, I find that really interesting and quite key, actually, when you think about the subject matter and you think about some of the things that he tried to expose in his movies, especially towards the end of his life. Eyes Wide Shut. So, since the early ages of cinema, there have been some incredible directors that have graced the world with their movies. Stanley Kubrick is one of those directors, as he has directed films like The Shining, A Clockwork Orange, and 2001, A Space Odyssey. Now, when Warner Brothers sent the script to Kubrick, he responded by saying, I only like to develop my own stuff. So William Peter Blatty fought for William Friedkin to get the job, which of course happened. And while Friedkin crafted one of the greatest horror movies ever made, I have to agree, it's hard not to wonder what The Exorcist, directed by Stanley Kubrick, would have looked like. Absolutely. So the top three, here we go, I'll get to number three. The name of the demon is never stated in the movie. I'll just repeat that. The name of the demon is never stated in the movie. However, in the movie, you see a scene where it's something blatantly reptilian looking. It's got wings, and as we'll see as the show goes on and as I'll describe, that most certainly is the imagery and symbology that would go along with Pazuzu. So it says here, one common misconception about The Exorcist is that Regan is actually not possessed by Satan, but another demon called Pazuzu. Since it's never stated in the movie, people often think that Captain Howdy is the devil himself, although this is later revealed to not be the case when Father Karras is skeptical about the demon being Satan. And based on the statue seen in the film and the explanation in the novel, Regan is indeed possessed by Pazuzu, who is the demon of the wind. Now, Pazuzu, again, when you look at the backstory, the demonology, as they call it, when you look into that, it tells you that this is something that Pazuzu does a lot. It's almost like that trickster entity that we spoke about yesterday with Max. See how now we're getting a link into the stuff from yesterday as well? It's weirdness. So yeah, Pazuzu is said to be almost the master of deception, disguise. It'll pretend to be what it needs to be. It'll be nice, so long as it can get into the home. And then what happens is, and as we've heard so many times from Bill and other people who have been the victims of possession, once that poltergeist activity starts, it's gaining a foothold. And it's got one mission, whether it's Pazuzu or anything else, but Pazuzu likes to do this best, they say. It revels in it. It loves to see this kind of thing, because the end goal for Pazuzu is possession. And remember Bill's own life story that you can go and see on the TV show A Haunting, and his upbringing and that house that they were in, and how that entity was gaining strength all the time and really ripped that family apart. That's the hallmarks of Pazuzu. And just when it's divided people, and just when they're scared senseless, and they've got nowhere else to turn, and you're really at your wit's end, that's when you're in real danger. Because that's when Pazuzu, it doesn't just move things around the living room. It's not just that walking or that creaking floorboard that you hear at night. No, this is when it changes into something completely different. And this is when you need to get somebody like Bill Bean or some other exorcist out there. And I tell you what, as we're going to find out after the break, folks, there are more and more people. It's scary to imagine how many people right now either listening to this show or more likely oblivious to this show, but in their own life, whether they know it, and some of them most certainly do, but some of them are entirely unaware of the fact that there's already something around them. It's already gaining a foothold in more and more people's lives every time we speak to Bill. And not only that, I've got the headlines and the stories to prove it after the break. Now, don't forget, coming up right after today's show, don't go anywhere. Joe Joseph takes over from a very snowy Massachusetts. Yes, indeed. I think he'd be better placed on a skidoo than in his truck right now. Big shout out to Joe. Big shout out to Billy as well. She's up there near Joe, but Massachusetts. So if you're in that region, I know it's snowing there. Be careful on the roads. Anywhere where you are, if it's inclement weather, please be careful, because I know you can't get enough of KBS and TFR, and that's why you can take us on the go with iHeartRadio, TalkStream Radio, TuneIn Radio apps. Just search for TFR, Truth Frequency Radio, and you can hear yours truly and all the other shows. We'll be right back. Yes, indeed, folks. Yes, indeed. We're going to get deeper into the Pazuzu mystery in just a moment. Yes, and then Bill will be along in hour number 2. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? It pains me. Pains me. You know, I see you all out there in the chat room, and I'm having to do my very best concentrating, you know, because this is a big one tonight. I'm really looking forward to this. Probably going to edit out the breaks afterwards on the back end of YouTube, because all of this goes together. And then, like Max came in on Sunday night and on last night's show, really took it to another level again. That's what I'm thinking Bill's going to do when he comes on in hour number 2. He's going to supercharge all of this Pazuzu woo. He's going to call forth his spiritual or his warrior angels. You know, Big Bill, he's always in warrior mode. I tell you, the big man, he is on it. And I know some of you listeners out there, you know that for a fact, because you too have experienced what Bill can do. Remember, check out Bill's website, billbean.com. I'll be back in a couple of moments. I need to get some chicken. My KFC, it's sitting getting cold. I'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. Come on, you got to love the creepy music, right? You got to love it. And yes, I apologise for that, folks. I had to nip away. I tell you, if my appetite gets any bigger, it's going to be scary, scary stuff, folks. If I start getting fat, you all better tell me, right? You can fat shame me. It's allowed. But we're going to be going back to TFR in just a moment, folks. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, and somebody in the TFR chat room there made a great point. I don't know how many of you people out there, did you ever catch The Exorcist, the TV show? That was a spin-off. It was on not that long ago. Pazuzu features highly, prominently in that movie. And I even think, here we go, I'm going back to the network. 2 seconds. There we go. We are back. We are live. Thank you all for joining me today on this edition of the Kev Baker Show. And I'm going to be joined by Bill Bean in hour number 2. He is one segment away, ladies and gentlemen. Can you suffer me just for 27 minutes more, please? Please. And then Bill will be along and he'll really take things to another level. But we're talking about Pazuzu today. And Bill in the chat room over at tfrlive.com/chat. Big shout out to Smelly Pits, Dorito, Bam, Wookie, everyone over there. If I missed anyone, all one, sorry. Gentle Civilian. I just thought there, I can't miss one or two out if there's only a few in there. They'll be getting paranoid. But yeah, the TV show, The Exorcist, it really does bring Pazuzu to the forefront. And it's Pazuzu we're talking about today. And Pazuzu, of course, is one of the most, or considered to be one of the most powerful demons out there. Let's take a look at what it says about Pazuzu, not in the movies. And as we're going to see, it appears in many, many movies. In fact, there's even rock bands today with the name Pazuzu in it. And as we're going to see, before we get to the end of this segment, the name Pazuzu is definitely having a destructive force on the planet today. So let me bring up this here. And I'm going to wiki, folks. I'll be very honest with you. I know some people are very critical of Wikipedia. However, it shouldn't be used as a fact-checking website, but it can be used as a tool. And for these purposes today, in my knowledge, albeit very, very loose and very, very small, about Pazuzu, everything seems to fit well. So, Pazuzu. In ancient Mesopotamian religion, Pazuzu was the king of the demons of the wind, brother of Humbaba, and son of the god Hanbi. Now, Hanbi was literally considered, back in Mesopotamian times, as the king of the demons, which literally makes, or that would translate to Pazuzu being the prince of the demons, or the demonic hierarchy. Now, it's kind of weird because, as I've been describing throughout the first segment of the show, Pazuzu likes to destroy. It likes to infect, infest, and possess. And it's hard to find anything benevolent about such a creature. However, when you look at the history of this, women at times have called upon Pazuzu during pregnancy, because Pazuzu is said to be able to defeat the forces of Namashtu. And Namashtu is somebody that brings and wreaks havoc to pregnant women. So I believe. So I've been reading today. So it goes on to say here, he also represented the southern or southwestern wind, the bearer of storms and drought. So that's quite significant as well, because we hear about the plague of locusts and things like that. And it was considered, or it was thought, that Pazuzu, in fact, was the one holding back the pestilence, the plagues, everything else. So it says, Pazuzu is often depicted as a combination of a diverse animal and human parts. Now, this takes us back into the realm of genetic manipulation. Oh, do you remember we were talking about that last night as well? Remember we were talking about that? Yeah. So Pazuzu, literally, when you look at the symbol of Pazuzu, and I'll drop that in the TFR chat right now. I'm sure somebody's already dropped it in there, but just in case. I mean, that's literally a statue or a representation of what, in my consideration, a hybrid. Or, in fact, well, that is hybrid, right? But I suppose you would say, if you were going to translate it into Christian kind of times and wording, then it would be something like Pazuzu that fell and then mated with the daughter of man, right? And then you got the Nephilim. So could something like this, and I'm asking the question here because I'm not a demonologist then, under that kind of angle, if that's the way it fell, right, if that's the way it played out, does that mean Pazuzu would be one of the fathers of the Nephilim? along with all the other demons that fell. Strange. Telling you, reality is so much cooler and so much stranger and so much weirder. Unfortunately, so much darker than fiction as well. So he has the body of a man, the head of a lion or dog, and talons of an eagle, two pairs of wings, and a scorpion's tail. He has his right hand up and his left hand down. Now I'm pretty sure that would be quite a Masonic stance. I could be wrong, but there's something kind of Masonic about that stance. Again, like I say, I could be wrong there. Just saying. So the mythology. Pazuzu is the demon of the southwest wind known for bringing famine during the dry seasons and locusts during the rainy seasons. Pazuzu was invoked in apotropaic amulets, which combat the powers of his rival, the malicious goddess Lamashtu, who is believed to... So that's it. It's not Namashtu, it's Lamashtu. My mistake, folks. Who is believed to cause harm to mother and child during childbirth. Now, although Pazuzu is himself considered to be an evil spirit, he drives and frightens away other evil spirits, therefore protecting humans against plagues and misfortunes. Well, I would say there's an ulterior motive to Pazuzu, keeping humans safe from other demons. And that ulterior motive is that this entity sees us as his. We're his to feed on. We're his to torment. That's the thing that's leading to bumps in the nights. Could this be the thing that's sending forth shadow entities, shadow dudes? Because I don't care what anyone says. I don't think there's anything good comes from a shadow dude. I really don't. But reading on here in popular culture, this is where it gets interesting, how many times it's appeared. Programming, anyone? So, like I say, and we've got the novel, The Exorcist in 1971, and the film based on the novel, and it says that Pazuzu is supposedly the evil spirit that possesses the young girl Regan McNeil, and it fits with everything that you see played out in the movie. It's not as if they've just picked a name from random, or at random, sorry. No, they've gone for one where this is the characteristics of the possession, and the yellow teeth, that's a part of it as well. The levitation, these are all things that are attributed to the power of Pazuzu. So it says Pazuzu appears on the cover of the Gorillaz compilation album D-Sides as a statue in front of the band's former recording studio in the music videos for the band's Dare, Rocket, and Humility, and variously in their fictional autobiography Rise of the Ogre. Pazuzu, Black Rain and Blackets, is a track on the Nephilim's 1996 album Zune. Yeah, a band called the Nephilim. Go figure. Then we've got William S. Burroughs invokes Pazuzu in the dedication for his novel Cities of the Red Night. And then Pazuzu is mentioned in the Simon Necronomicon, a publication of Avon Books that purports to document incantations to invoke, quote, incredible things, beings, and monsters into visible form. He is described therein as, quote, Lord of all fevers and plagues, grinning dark angel of the four wings, horned and rotting genitalia, with rotting genitalia. Ouch. That's it. That's a bit nasty. And as the brother of Humwaha, now the book claims that he is amongst the most fearsome of all entities, stating in part, it is the able magician indeed who can remove Pazuzu once he has laid hold of a man, for Pazuzu lays hold until death. Although the book makes the claim that Pazuzu, like all entities listed therein, was of Sumerian origin, critics John Wisdom Gauntz III and Daniel Harms documents the erroneous nature of such a claim, stating, likewise, the demon Pazuzu does not appear in the myth until Assyria's rise in the first millennium BC. long after Sumer's prime. Thus the beings in the Simon or Simon Necronomicon bear little resemblance to either Sumerian myth or Lovecraftian fiction. Now, Pazuzu is the demon that allegedly haunts Adele Blanc-Sec in Tardy's graphic novel, The Demon of the Eiffel Tower. Pazuzu also appears in Mummies on Parade. Pazuzu is featured in the 2014-2015 NBC television series called Constantine in a two-part episode, The Saint of the Last Resorts. And the protagonist, John Constantine, summons Pazuzu. That's a brilliant film, by the way, Constantine. Oh, absolutely. Summons Pazuzu to combat Lamashtu, the primary antagonist of the first part, and later willingly allows Pazuzu to possess him to save himself from another powerful demon. However, Pazuzu has no wish to leave his new host and emerges whenever Constantine is in danger, causing the deaths of at least 8 dangerous gangbangers. Now, luckily, Constantine, goes on. Pazuzu is a character in the 2018 novel On Devil's Wings by M.J. Mead. The podcast, The Black Tapes, episode 108, explores a demon board called the Zuzu or Pazuzu board, designed to summon Pazuzu into the human world. Now, that is absolutely crazy. It's crazy. If you've got a pen and a bit of paper, I want you to write down Zuzu. Not Pazuzu, just Zuzu, because that becomes so relevant after the break. It's giving me the goosebumps. Wow. Now I'm going to check out that board game in a moment. This is new to me. Pazuzu made an appearance in the 2017 episodes of The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror, 28, I think that stands for, possessing Homer briefly, Maggie until the end, and Bart at the end in a spoof of The Exorcist. And Pazuzu is featured on gangster rapper Coneo's 2019 album called Hood God to Pazuzu. Yes, indeed. So you come in here, there's the number of demons. I was looking at this today as well. We often hear about the 72 demons, right, of the Goetia, I think it's called. But yeah, 72 demons, it's one of those numbers I've heard been bandied about. Not to be mistaken with the 72 young people promised to characters that enter somewhere they call paradise. You get me. I'm being very kind of politically correct and trying not to trigger algorithms or offend anyone along the way. But it says here, and this is what really shocked me, because that goes into this thinking, well, 62 demons, 72 demons, right? Pfft. It's a bit contested, the number of demons, and I tell you, it goes a bit higher than 72. So in 1467, Alfonso de Spina asserted that the number of demons was 316,666. Now, this idea was 1/3 of the angels turned into demons seems to be due to Exegius and the Book of Revelation 12:3 or chapter 12 verses 3 to 9. Johann Weher, in his Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonium, after a complicated system of hierarchies and calculations, estimated the number of demons as 4,439,622, divided into 666 legions. We need some background music for this. Come on, we need the... I think we'll just have the scary music. Yes, we'll put a bit of that one. We'll see. It's almost kind of Exorcist-y, right? So I tell you, I'm putting this on to make myself feel comfortable, folks, because when Bill comes after the break, the woo's going to go off the dial. But let's get back into this. Each legion is comprised by, good math, 6,666 demons, and all of them ruled by 66 hellish dukes, princes and kings, etc. Now, the Lesser Keys of Solomon in the 17th century copied the division in legions from pseudo-monarchia, daemonium, daemonum, but added more demons, and so more legions. It is suggestive that both Spina and Wehr use 666 and other numbers composed by more than 16 to calculate the number of demons. We've got 133,316,666 demons, 666 legions, 6,666 demons in each legion, 66 rulers, and it's just 666 everywhere, right? I hope the algorithm didn't pick that up wrong. But Gregory of Nicaea in the 4th century believed in the existence of male and female demons and supported the idea that demons procreated with other demons and with human women. Now, other scholars supported the idea that they could not procreate and that the number of demons was constant. Now, I don't know how many demons are out there, folks, but sometimes, you know, we don't have to search too far for the monsters around us. And in fact, as opposed to demonic, ethereal entities trying to gain a foothold from their dimension into ours, some of these monsters, they're all around us. Yes, indeed. And it also links into Pazuzu, because I want you to check this story out. This is a new one on me, but I'm getting into it now. Here it is here. Satan worshipping somebody who took somebody else's life, bad guy, called Pazuzu Algarad, and his crimes are examined in a show called The Devil You Know. It says Viceland's new documentary, The Devil You Know, is all about John Lawson, a.k.a. Pazuzu Algarad, a man connected to some hideous crimes. And to describe this character for radio listeners out there, he's got tattoos on his face and a big one of Satan on his arm. And listen, folks, I'm not criticising anyone for having tattoos. I've got one on my arm. I'm just trying to describe him for the radio audience here. And certainly not the kind of guy I would like to have bumped into, not even in a well-lit alley, let alone a dark one. So it says here, hysterias about dark cabals of devil-worshipping bad guys have cropped up all throughout American history, from the Salem witch trials to the 1690s to the satanic panics of the 1980s. And I've just had a message from Bill on air. You at the break. There we go. So it says, while most of these frenzies have proven to be simply mass delirium, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, a real devil worshipper exorcised actual dark influence. Pazuzu Illa Agarad, born John Lawson, participated in the heinous crimes that took the two lives of at least two men while acting as a leader of a group of punks and outsiders, wreaking havoc on the otherwise somewhat evangelical town. Now, in Viceland's newest true crime docu-series titled The Devil You Know, the socio-political failures that allowed Algarad to gain power amongst a group of society's rejects, they're explained in depth. So who was Pazuzu Algarad, and what did he believe in? So Algarad was born in John Lawson on August the 12th, 1978 in San Francisco, California. Hey, that's a super chat coming in there. What's this saying?
I blame it all on the Freemasons.
Exactly. Maybe Pazuzu was a Freemason, especially with that stand he was doing. Thank you very, very much, Lothar. Getting back into this right away. We need to finish this up for Bill coming in. It says the accounts of his childhood are greatly, very greatly, depending on who is telling the story, as noted by the director and producer of The Devil You Know, Patricia Gillespie, and I'll be checking this out because I like true crime documentaries. I don't know, I just find them quite intriguing. There were a lot of varying accounts, in large parts because he reinvented the story for people he met later in life, Gillespie told Oxygen.com. Now, he told people he was from Iraq. He told people his father was some high priest. But the people who knew him as a child described him as a little off-kilter and a little emotional. Now, things that might indicate the beginning of a mental illness, i.e. harming animals, consuming alcohol, and drugs at a very early age. Algarad's mother, Cynthia James, remembers things a bit differently. All parents have arguments with their children and don't agree, she said of Algarad and the devil, you know. Yes, John had some mental problems, but he wasn't a bad guy, James continued, at one point describing her son as her little warrior. So they described him as being agoraphobic, schizophrenic, psychotic, said James. That's when I started getting help for him. But to continue with psychiatrists and so forth, it takes a lot of money. You got to remember the good things. I block out any of the bad things. He wasn't by any means an angel, but he wasn't a bad person or a bogeyman or whatever phrases people have called him. So what did he do? Well, it's unclear when Algarad and James relocated to Salem, but the two lived in a home on the outskirts of the town, which has a large Christian population. Algarad took on the name Pazuzu in 2002, according to KPIX, or KPIX of San Francisco. Now, the moniker was a homage to a legendary demon king and the arch-friend, or the arch-fiend who supposedly possessed the fictional Regan MacNeil in the iconic horror film The Exorcist. He became somewhat of an eccentric local character who the suburb feared. Now, Pazuzu had done everything he could to make himself seem scary to people in the town, says Chad Nance, an editor of the Camel City Dispatch, who extensively covered the Pazuzu case in The Devil You Know. He was trying to freak people out. He claimed to sacrifice animals. He claimed to be able to control the weather. He filed his teeth down. He had tattoos printed on his face. He became Winston-Salem's own Manson-esque icon of depravity. And Gillespie notes how Algarad fed off Winston-Salem's unique brand of conservatism to create his persona. He wasn't accepted, Gillespie said. Step by step, he started to do more extreme things, like the sacrificing the animals and the creation of this mythos around him. The fact that he chose to take elements of Luciferianism and Islam, two religions that are incredibly discordant, and put them together shows that he was exactly reacting to the Christian post-Bad Day in September 2001 community. He was keeping, or he keeps upping the ante and upping the ante. And I'm just going to scroll down here to find out. Yeah, so deputies have since said that they believe the first of Algarad's killings took place sometime after June the 1st, 2009. They believe the disposal of somebody at the Winston-Salem location was assisted by Amber Birch and Crystal Matlock, two denizens of the house who identified as Algarad's fiancés. Now, Birch was believed to have killed a second male victim in October 2009, and in 2010, Algarad was convicted on a charge of accessory after the fact in the shooting death of a 30-year-old Joseph Chandler, whose body was discovered near a river by police on June the 7th of that year after his mother reported him missing. Now, Algarad was released on probation for the crime shortly thereafter. Now, we're coming up on the break, folks, but look into that story. Check it out. It's a guy who renamed himself Pazuzu, and he had his own cult, and it gets only weirder and deeper and darker from there. And after the break, though, I'm going to bring on a guy who might just be the remedy that we're all looking for when it comes to Pazuzu or anything else that might be rearing its ugly, demonic head in our lives, or maybe somebody you know. And it's my good friend, Bill Bean, the spiritual warrior. He is going to be on his way after the break. I'm just making sure. Yep, he's locked, he's loaded, he's ready to go. My mum's tuned in. It couldn't be better, folks. The stage is set. The puzzle is there. What and who or why is Pazuzu seeming to come back to the surface right now? And more importantly, how on earth's name does this relate to the work of Bill Bean and a Mandela Effect that he's seen? Join me after the break when we get into the Pazuzu puzzle even further with Bill Bean, the spiritual warrior. Yes, indeed, folks. So I'm going to hurriedly call Bill Bean now. Give me 2 seconds.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like Beyond Veil with Chris and
Yes,
Shereen
indeed,
Beach.
hopefully.
Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas. Jaronism Raw with Jaron and Missa. Fearless with Frank Castle.
Hopefully we'll get him in a second here.
Search Eye of Ra with Ra Castaldo. The Infinite Fridge with Billy Ray. Ironworks with Josh Corey. The Kev Baker Show. And dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-79?
Yeah, we'll try and phone him back in a minute, folks. Here we go. Still trying to get Bill on the line here. Hopefully we can get him. Hopefully. And I'll put some tunes on while I message him just now. We'll get back to the scarier kind of tunes. Hang on, here we go.
Complete case of obstruction than that demonstrated by the president.
There we go. There's Bill. There he is. Bill, are you there? Bill, I can see and hear you. Fix your headphone setting. You see, I know what it is, folks. We had this the last time with Bill. It's his headphones. It's set up the wrong way, and then we'll have Bill Bean with us, ladies and gents. Yes, indeed.
There we go.
There we go, Bill. How you doing, sir?
Doing great. How are you, brother?
I'm doing very well. I just need to get your camera fitted in here really quickly now. How you been, Bill? We're live on YouTube right now. So
okay.
I've been talking about Pazuzu in the first hour of the show, all about the Pazuzu puzzle. And towards the end of that, I'll explain to you when we go on air in a moment, but it links perfectly in with the Mandela that you were telling me about.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, we'll get into it on the show. It's quite startling, actually, because it was only a connection that I made when I was looking at information during the first hour. And it kind of blew me away. So
that's what we do, Kev. We connect the dots.
Well, we've had a bit of strangeness as well. A good friend of mine, Armand, he's had a lot of Pazuzu kind of symbology, iconography turning up in his life lately. And he actually says that he thinks he's seen the poster for our show a couple of days before I actually made it. Now, I've got no reason to doubt him because
isn't that interesting?
I've known the guy for a while, but just a bit weird, Bill. So I don't know what's going to happen on this show. I get a funny feeling it's going to be one of those shows.
Well, whatever the case may be, God is in control, and we praise him for it.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Now, we're almost there. I've almost got you fitted in. There we go. And we'll go back live to the network in just a moment. But thank you so much for being here tonight, Bill. All the
It's
audience
always
are
my
stoked.
honor and pleasure, brother.
Absolutely. Okay, folks, here we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 on today's Kev Baker show. And like I've been saying all throughout the show, I'm really excited because today we have got Bill Bean back with us. Yes, indeed. And myself and Bill, we often share messages back and forth, and Bill tells me what's been going on. And Bill's one of the busiest characters I know because for anyone who might not know Bill, he goes by the name of the Spiritual Warrior. He's a real-life exorcist, deliverance minister, and he is tireless, folks. Now, I know some of the people listening to this show right now, you could back me up 100% on that because you have experienced what Bill does, how he maintains what he calls warrior mode, and thanks to his warrior angels and a direct connection to a higher power, there's no other way of putting this, Bill's out there near enough 24/7 helping families that may have fallen victim to the very same entity that we've been talking about before the break. That prince of demons, Pazuzu, the one that likes to infest homes. It identifies and it targets weak people, usually the younger the better, and after it's infested that home, what it does is it does everything within its power to break up that family, to cause disease, to cause trauma, and eventually it will all culminate with Pazuzu trying to possess the body. Now, that's some of the lore, some of the stuff that goes with this entity Pazuzu that was made famous, at least in our time, by the movie The Exorcist. Now, Pazuzu was famous way, way back in Sumerian, Babylonian times like that, and people really appreciated just what these forces, these unseen forces were all about. But today, in our times, I don't think people really truly understand what they're dabbling with. And that's why more and more people are having to reach out to people like Bill Bean, who's a world-renowned spiritual deliverance minister, exorcist, and is known as the Spiritual Warrior. He's also an internationally known author, lecturer, and paranormal supernatural expert. And Bill is currently being featured on TLC's A Haunting series, as well as a Lifetime Movie Network series, I Was Possessed. And you can see and hear Bill everywhere. And he's a regular guest on Coast to Coast, the Coast to Coast. And yet he comes here once a month to hang out with all of us. Bill Bean, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, brother. Thank you so much for having me back. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be on with you. And thank everybody out there for watching in and listening in.
Well, Bill, I was talking about the whole Pazuzu angle of things. I don't know where you want to start this today, but what happened was I was reading out some of the times that Pazuzu, the name, has been used in popular culture or it's appeared. And what I came across was the fact that there was a board game. Now, I've not checked this out yet. I'm going to, but the board game was called Zoo. Now, that ties in with what you were telling me about a very specific Mandela Effect that you've come across, right?
Yeah, it's just amazing the times that we are living in now, Kev, and nothing surprises me anymore. And you don't even have to look very hard to find these Mandela effects now. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. And first, before we go any further, by the mighty power of Yahweh and his mighty and holy name in Jesus' name, I bind and rebuke that foul Pazuzu demon and cast him out and off and away, far away, and command it to depart. And may Yahweh's angels take that thing into custody and carry it off and deposit it back into the pits of hell where it belongs. So that had to be said before we go any further. And yeah, it's amazing how I came across this. And I was listening to your information, your description of this thing, and you're exactly right, everything that you said. My wife and I were recently watching the one of the greatest movies of all time, It's a Wonderful Life, with James Stewart and Donna Reed. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen that movie, Kev. I don't know, many, many, many times over the years. And we noticed something odd the other night when we were watching it. Now, our recollection of this film and the children in the film, their names were Tommy, Janie, Pete, and Susie. That's what we thought. Seen the movie many, many times over the years. And we noticed something very strange when we watched it the other night, in that the youngest child, who I thought was named Susie, is now called Zuzu. And we looked at each other. My wife mentioned it first, and I thought, well, that's not right. Something's wrong there. I don't remember this child being called Zuzu. And so I am convinced, and I dug into this a little bit, and other people see this as well, and they're talking about it, that this child, the youngest child of the four in that movie, that child's name, the character was always Susie, and now it is Zuzu. Big difference there, Kev, and it got me to digging and trying to connect dots again, and it led me to this foul Pazuzu demon. And it also led you there as well. So it's interesting how God leads us to information. But I'll be interested to hear from the viewers and listeners what they think about this. And, you know, I'm sure there are many, many people out there, even some of the younger people, that have seen this movie. And I'd like to hear your thoughts. Do you remember the child being called Susie, or this Zuzu?
It doesn't even make sense to me. I'm not somebody that watched the film, okay? But it doesn't make sense to me for like a wholesome family name to be Zuzu in a movie like that.
It makes no sense, Kev. You know, think about it. In that time period, you know, you always had the names, you know, like Tommy and Susie and Janie and, you know, Peter, Paul, you know, Katie, these types of things. These were all common names for back then, not Zuzu.
Now, what did you make of this entity, this demon, when you were reading up on Pazuzu? Because this is one of the ones that I think, Bill, maybe even unbeknown to you at times, that you might be going toe-to-toe with. And I don't say that lightly, but when you find out that it's the master of deception, it lies to people to gain a foothold in their life, and its sole goal is to possess, I mean, that's where you step in, right?
Exactly. And I've known about this foul demon for many years. I guess my first coming across info about it, I guess the first time I, you know, really learned about what it was, I would have to say may have been 8 or 10 years ago. And I was in New York with my good friend Mike Supa, and he had a friend that was directly involved in the Son of Sam murders. He was one of the victims, and he brought up this foul demon. And interestingly enough, this meeting took place in one of the most evil places that I've ever been, and that is Untermeyer Park in Yonkers, New York. And this is the place, it's a cursed place, and this is a place that Samuel Untermeyer, who was a very well-to-do attorney, was a Satanist as well. And he brought Aleister Crowley in to pronounce, you know, it certainly wouldn't be blessings, but he came in to pronounce incantations and perform ritual sacrifice there. And I was shown by this individual who was a friend of Mike Supa some of these areas in this place. And I mean, boy, Kev, just like how you talk about Crowley's Boleskine evil place there, it's the same. This place is the same. You could feel the evil. There were tunnels and things of that nature dug into the side of this park, which went downhill towards the water. And many stories of ritual sacrifice and David Berkowitz of the Son of Sam murders, who, in my opinion, was not the lone murderer in that. He had plenty of help, and they were a satanic group that stretches into the high places. And there are some of those people to this very day in those high places, and they know who they are. More importantly, God knows who they are. But anyway, that's where I came upon information about this demon. And I was also given information that certain rock groups and others actually sit around and invoke this demon and give worship to this demon. So it's very interesting, and you'd be shocked if I named some of the well-known rock groups and people that supposedly, allegedly are involved in these types of acts.
Yeah, that's the thing. And when I went searching today, I didn't think when I typed in Pazuzu that I would get any relevant kind of news stories from recent past. I didn't think I'd get anything. I thought I'd get the typical kind of Exorcist stuff, Bill. But no, there's somebody renamed himself Pazuzu. There's rock groups out there called Pazuzu that are releasing new bands. There's another one that had an album or a song about Pazuzu. It's everywhere. It's actually more prominent than I thought. But that should be no surprise, right? Because we often talk about how at this time, Bill, we're getting really close. You can call it end times, call it the apocalypse. It doesn't matter what kind of vernacular people use to describe this. We're getting close to a reset here. And all of this are symptoms of it, right?
I totally believe it, Kev. 100%. So I'm 100% in agreement with you. Look, I don't like to say bad things, and I don't like to give bad forecast or say, oh, it's this, it's that. I like to say good things, and I like people to be well, and I love to see people doing well in their lives. And we could still do well in our lives as long as we're making God first in our life. But the fact of the matter is, what you say is true. What I've been saying is true. We're on the fast track, heading to this where God's going to hit the reset button. And history repeats itself. And I've said this on your show before, and I'll say it again. I guess the best way for me to describe this is that Yahweh, the creator of everything, made life like a giant wheel. It's like a giant wheel, and it goes round and round, and history repeats itself. And many times in the past, we've had these types of events take place to where Yahweh finally gets fed up, and he gives the people every chance to try and come back and try and rectify and make amends and repent. Look, we're all sinners. We're all guilty of something, but we really, by our choice, need to seek out God and make him first. I can't twist anybody's arm to do anything, nor do I want to. And furthermore, God gave us free will to make our choices. However, I know this from personal experience, that when we make God first and we're truly making him first and we have that true connection with him, he will bring blessings and favor and protection and empower us as well. I couldn't do what I do without the blessing and favor from God and his power working through me. So it's something to keep in mind, and I pray that more and more people will heed my words and take this to heart and really seek out a true relationship with him, because the time is running out of the hourglass. I see it. God has not told me this, but I see it and I feel it. This is something that is happening, and it is going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than later. So time is absolutely running out, Kev.
Absolutely agree with you. And even people who don't watch our kind of content or anything like that, the most, air quotes, asleep out there, even they're picking up on something just been a little off, Bill. And when we come back on the other side, we're going to take a look at a technology that may take us one step closer to giving up what it means to be human in the first place. But before we get there, let's stick on this Mandela thing, because like I was saying to the audience, this is something that has plagued you ever since it started getting going. And we've had the Zuzu one now as well. But since we last spoke, did you take part in a Mandela get-together at all? Was it a conference? How did that go, man?
No, it was great. I want to thank Megan Balmer. She was the organizer of the event, and she provided me, she contacted me and wanted to know if I would come and speak, and which I did, and I thank her for bringing me there to St. Louis. And it was great. But I have to tell you, Kev, it was great, but I had so many of these things to mention, which I mentioned quite a few. And even though the people there were aware of this, they were not aware of some of the things that I mentioned, especially with the scriptures. And you could just hear some people gasping. And again, look, I'm not out to shock people or frighten people or anything like that. I'm telling the truth and I'm presenting the truth. And when people see this, they just rub their eyes, or they just, they put their hands on their head or their mouth. They go, what is this? And so I, went down the list. I didn't list them all, but I listed quite a few. And one of the latest scripture Mandela effects that I've come across is now Genesis 8, verse 11. And this, Kev, you've heard this many times, the passing of the olive branch. I'll pass this person of olive branch, to make peace. Well, that comes from Noah. That comes from when Noah sent the dove out to check on the floodwaters to see if the floodwaters have receded. And so the dove brought back the olive branch.
Yeah.
Well, now Genesis 8, verse 11 in the King James Bible, again, it used to say that the dove brought back to Noah an olive branch, and now it is olive leaf. It's olive leaf.
If it was an olive
no
leaf,
longer olive branch.
Then the popular saying, nobody ever says, let's reach out, let's put out an olive leaf to somebody.
Right.
Nobody ever says that, okay? So that's actually quite a startling one that we can really... But Bill, this is good, right? Because as much as I hate to see reality change, the likes of that one there, it's really easy to use that to demonstrate to somebody, look, something is changing here. We don't know what, but it's not good.
Exactly. And I'm not making this up. I'm not making these changes. I don't have a printing press that, prints up these things or whatever. And furthermore, think about this. And some people try to, I guess, rationalize it by saying this. Oh, well, they do change things when they send them out from the printers. Okay. And there were a couple people that said, I said, now stop a second. Think about what you just said. I'm talking about books not coming off the printing press. I'm talking about books, Bibles that are in our possession. Bibles that, one Bible I've had for over 20 years traveled. I just retired it, traveled with me everywhere I went, all over. The other Bible another old King James Bible that I have, I think is 159 years old. These changes have taken place in these Bibles in my possession, in my home. So this is not about something coming off the printing press. We're talking about supernatural changes that have taken place in our homes or wherever these books may be. And it's not just Bibles. There's many of other things that it's affecting, as we know. So you can't say, oh, well, it's just the way they do it now. Well, we're not talking about now. We're talking about things that we've had for many years that are now changed. Another scripture, and I think we talked about this the last time, Kev, is Judges 16:19. And that is the story of Samson and Delilah.
Yeah. That's a weird one.
Everybody knows, or at least they thought they knew, that the story was that Delilah cut his hair off, and that robbed him of his power, and he was taken into custody, and he became a prisoner. Well, not anymore. Again, this is Judges 16, verse 19. It now says that she called a man in to shave 7 locks. So now it went from her cutting his hair off to her calling a man in to shave only 7 locks off. And then they take him into custody. This is ridiculous.
At least whoever or whatever is making the changes, they haven't gone all politically correct yet, because if it had, it wouldn't have dared put a man in there doing that task. But,
very true, Kev. Very true.
I know we laugh and we joke, but it's my way of coping. And I want to bring up something else, and it's from one of our mods in the YouTube chat room, Kristen. And it's something I've been thinking about as well, Bill. I don't know if you've checked this out yet. but there's now a movie out called The Mandela Effect. Now, I'm going to reach out to the director of this movie to try and get him on. And you know what I'm like, folks? When I get determined, I'll get my guy or woman, okay? Director David is a guy. But it says here, a man becomes obsessed with facts and events that have been collectively misremembered by thousands of people. So there goes the propaganda already, Bill.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The first line.
Confabulation. That's the nice word they have for it. Confabulation.
Yep. So believing the phenomenon to be a symptom of something larger is an obsession. So it's not just an interest, but his obsession eventually leads him to question reality itself. And I was going to ask you, even without seeing it, do you think this is going to be a hit piece? That 2 sentences there prove that they're trying to rubbish this in the minds of the many.
Yeah, it's you hit the nail on the head, propaganda, and that's how they will get past all of this, is they will dismiss. And so anyone like us who says, hey, we remember it this way, and look, I wouldn't say these things if I didn't remember it. And I know the scriptures very, very well. I spent years in serious biblical studies. I know the scriptures. And that's why God told us to hide the word in our heart, because he knew, and it says it in Amos 8, that this day would come to where the scriptures, people would seek the word of God and not be able to find it, because it's all changing. So they can say whatever they want to say, Kev. I know the truth, you know the truth, and we praise God for that, because I'd much rather go through life with my eyes open and knowing the truth than believing a lie and following along blindly with the masses who will say, there's nothing to this. And these very same people will have plenty to say as well when we get in. I know you wanted to talk about this on the other side of the break, when we talk about what we're going to talk about that's going to affect the human mind in such a way, and not just the mind, but the spirit and the body as well. So we'll get into that. But it's just amazing how the masses just blindly follow along with anything and everything.
They do. They're programmed. They're told what to think. It's packaged up in little sound bites or little movies like the Mandela Effect. But if you have experienced something out there, folks, don't let anyone try and rubbish it. I compare the Mandela Effect to deja vu. And not once have I ever been in a circumstance or involved in any occasion where somebody claims to have deja vu and it all of a sudden becomes funny and ridiculous. It's just commonly accepted that deja vu is a thing that's very personal. You can't tell somebody they're not having a deja vu. And similarly, nobody can tell you that you're not having a Mandela Effect. And they're becoming more and more personal, Bill, because it was big movies, and the one I can't get past, and I blame you for this, sir, Black Tom Island. I can't get by that one. But these things are also now turning up like more specifically around people in their homes, items being there one day, gone the next. Really weird stuff, to the point where does this stop? I mean, how much more of reality has to break down or change before people start saying there's something going on here?
Well, again, people, and I hate to say it this way, Kev, but it's the truth. The masses are programmed. So they're not going to see it, even if it hits them right between the eyes. They're not going to see it because they don't want to see it. They have a little box that they live in, and that is their reality. So the devil is very clever in that he promotes this selfishness. So Jesus, Yeshua, Jesus of Christ, he was all about being selfless. He loved everybody. He wanted to do for everybody. He made himself last. He put others before himself. The devil is the opposite. He is the selfish one. It's all about him. So what has he done? It's very clever. He's got the populace, the masses, tricked into that mindset as well, that it's all about them. So they have this little box that they live in, and it's all about them. They can't see past that, and they don't want to see past that. So this is the dilemma that we're faced with, is that you will never be able to convince these type of people of anything. They are going to eat up all the programming and propaganda, and they're going to follow along with that narrative, and there'll be nothing that you or I or anybody else can do or say to shake these people out of their slumber and out of their programming.
Nobody says it quite like Bill Bean. And folks, don't forget, check out Bill's website over at billbean.net. Please check out his books as well. Dark Force Revisited. Absolutely fantastic. And, you know, listening to Bill's life story, and you put that alongside the Pazuzu information that we went over at the start of the show, and there's a good chance that Bill's had a first-hand experience of this entity that we've been talking about, Pazuzu, since he was a very, very young boy indeed. Now, when we come back on the other side, it's interesting, right? Because as reality breaks down, it's almost as if they're coding and programming a new simulation for us all to be inserted into. And this is where we're going to the weird and the wonderful and sometimes downright evil sides of technology. But as I always say, there's two sides to look at things, and I'm usually the most positive guy in the world. But I often tell the listeners, and I want to emphasize, again, that doesn't mean I'm naive or ignorant to some of the dangers that we'll get into on the other side with Bill Bean. Don't go anywhere. Bill, yet again, breakneck speed. We're still here with, I don't know, 257 people. You know, it's just me and you here chilling out.
Praise God.
We go back to the thousands after the break on the radio, but yeah, I found it really kind of weird when I was reading out the Pazuzu stuff, and I came across that board game company called Zuzu. I'm thinking, hang on, Zuzu's going to be the major kind of part that we start on after the break. It's weird. And my mum, who loves you dearly, honestly, you're like one of the family to her, she confirmed that it was definitely Susie. Always Susie.
And please tell your mom hi, and I'll give her a shout out when we go back on. I love her dearly too, and I hope Ken's doing better now.
He seems to be picking up a bit. Yes, indeed, he certainly does. But
praise God.
You know what it's like when you've been stained by Boleskine House. That tends to stick with you.
Anytime that he wants to talk, just tell him to get in contact with me, or maybe your mom, Ken, will set up a time. And we'll do it. I'm leaving for San Francisco tomorrow, and I'll be back late on Thursday night.
Well,
I have a guy out there, Kev, that I'm not going to mention it on air, but
well, remember we're on YouTube right now. Remember we're on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll mention it to you in private when we're, you know. But that's a very interesting case as well.
Absolutely, and there's a bit more going on around Boleskine than we maybe knew, and again, it's something that I can't talk about really on air yet. I'm still working on it behind the scenes. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll have more information. But that place is still very, very, very much an open porthole, Bill. And
I believe it. Yeah, I absolutely believe it. Isn't it interesting, the connection with Crowley and that Samuel Untermeyer and how he brought him over there and performed those rituals in that. And I'm telling you, Kev, that is an evil place, that Untermeyer Park.
Bad. Really horrible. Bad, yeah.
Many murders in that park, and human and animal sacrifice as well.
Wow. Now, we've had a case over here in the UK in the last couple of weeks where they think there might be a satanic cult operating. They've found a number of animals, unfortunately, daubed in satanic kind of symbols, ritualistic type stuff. And unbeknown to me, there's actually a division or a group within the UK police specifically set aside to deal with pagan type crimes of this nature, the pagan or the police pagan association. So
isn't that interesting?
Well, it says to me that, again, it could just be that because we're politically correct to the point of being insane over here, we might just have to have groups to represent everyone. It could be that, Bill. But at the same time, I think it hints at the fact that maybe these crimes, these things, are a bit more frequent than we hear about in the media.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
I think it's more prevalent than anyone can imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think about all the people that go missing every day. Every day. I think it's 2,000 people a day just in America. So when you take, Scotland and in the world, there's a lot of people going missing in our world every day.
Yep, absolutely. Now, we're about to go back to the network, folks, so stand by. We'll be back there in just a second. Yeah, thanks a lot, Bill, and I'll get you to let the people know when you're going to be on Coast next, or any shows you've got coming up, anything at all you need to put out there, okay?
Thanks, brother.
No
As
problem.
always.
Here we go. Here we go. We're going live. Welcome back, everyone. I can't believe it. I bet you can't too. Last segment of today's show with Bill Bean already. I'm shaking my head because I'm disappointed. I really am, because Bill is somebody that I could easily talk to here for hours, and we still wouldn't scratch the surface of some of the stuff that's going on out there. And Bill, before we get back into it, any appearances coming up on Coast to Coast at all? You know, that biggest radio show in the world that you're a friend of and go on all the time. You know, I know you don't like to brag. I'll do it for you.
No, and I hope that someday they'll bring the two of us on together. That's what I'm really hoping, that I can get my good friend Tommy D there to bring us on together someday, and may that be someday soon. So yeah, I'll be going back again after the first of the year, and it's always great to be on with George and Tom. They are good friends of mine, and they've been good friends of mine for quite a while, and I'm grateful for that. And also, Kev, I'm currently appearing in an episode of the Holzer Files, which is featured on Travel Channel now. And I have to thank Dave Schrader for that. Dave Schrader is another very good friend of mine, and it was Dave that reached out to me. They were having a problem with a lady out there that they felt that could have possibly have been possessed. And let me tell you, she had some serious demonic oppression. She was not fully possessed, but she had a lot going on in her life. And so the show brought me out there to help her. And I am very grateful to them for that. And I praise God for working through me to have delivered that lady. And she's doing very well now. And I'm so thankful to God for that. So I have to give Dave a big shout out as well. And like you, he refers his followers to me for help when they need it. So it's good to have such good friends and people that care about people. And it's truly a blessing.
No, absolutely. Now, Bill, you're probably sick to death of it, right? But every time you come on here, and I suppose it's our shtick now, right? I always ask you, how busy is it in the world of fighting demons? But I came across this, and it actually comes from the 11th of November this year. Speak of the devil. Exorcism explodes in America as hundreds are hearing voices and suffering fits, demand Catholic priests cast out demons. Now, you're not a Catholic exorcist. I want to make that clear to everyone out there. But it hints at the fact that, you know, it might get cliche for us to get into how busy is it in the spiritual world. But even the mainstream are picking up on this now, Bill. It's off the charts. Yeah.
It is off the charts. I can't keep my phone ringer on. So many people call me in the course of a day or text me, email me. I'm up when I'm home. I'm up till 4, sometimes 5 a.m. in the morning answering messages. There are a lot of people that are being affected by this, Kev, all around the world. And it is only increasing. So I've watched over the years my case files grow and grow and grow. So I fully expect 2020 to increase even more.
Now, one thing we were keen to get into today, Bill, and it's something that I've spoke about on the show before, but I think people need to appreciate just how busy Bill Bean is, and that's why I'm usually here. I've usually got your back. I'll bring you some of the stuff that's really pertinent, Bill, but there's so much going on right now. It's hard to keep up with at the best of times. And sometimes I can be guilty of just assuming that people everywhere know the same stories that I've been looking at. Now, I was quite shocked because Bill said to me just the other day, have you heard of a company called Neuralink? Well, this is where it's going to get interesting, Bill, right? Because I said to you, yeah, and you've got one way of looking at Elon Musk, which I respect totally. And over the history of the course, it's kind of become a bit of a joke that I've been a bit of a Musk fanboy. And although I am a fanboy, when it comes to the Neuralink, I can look at this both ways. I can look at how it could be in the right hands, used to our advantage, i.e. helping people, and preventing a singularity, which we can get into. But I can also easily see how this could be the beast system, where we give up what it means to be human. And like I say, while our reality as we have known it, we can't explain it, but even the stuff that we do know, it's breaking down right now. Mandela effects, all the weirdness, all the people experiencing the paranormal. And at the same time as that's going on, and we don't know where that ends or resets, they're literally building us a new simulation, a virtual version of our own world to move into. So, Bill, I'm going to get you to speak to this, and in the background, I'm going to kind of play their promotional video from Neuralink. So your thoughts on this new technology that is not around the corner? There's human trials going on right now.
Yeah, it's here. And Kev, I can't believe, and again, you hit the nail on the head. I get so busy that I can't keep up. And I thought I was up with everything. And no, I missed this. And this is something that I can't believe, because how many times have I been on your show? It said that this day was coming to where they would announce that they have this type of technological capability to literally merge man with machine. And here it is. It was right under my nose. I didn't even know it. And I can't even remember how I came upon this. I guess I just started doing some, this Elon Musk character. Look, I don't know this guy, and I don't know much about him. To be honest with you, he just felt very negative to me. And look, God forgive me if I'm misspeaking, and he's a good man. Well, then God forgive me, and I would ask his forgiveness as well. But something didn't feel right about him to me. So I've kind of stayed away from even wanting to research this individual. How does this guy just pop up out of nowhere, and he's worth $24 billion, and he's got all this and that, and he just seems to have popped up overnight, and he's the biggest thing going now? I just find that suspicious. And so recently, I actually did a little research on him, and then saw two things that were really alarming to me that I didn't know. When you think about this guy, you think about the rockets and the Teslas and all this stuff. But he has two other companies. One is called OpenAI. And that in itself is very dangerous, because I believe that artificial intelligence is fallen angel technology. It is satanic. So that's the first strike. It says that he formed the company, this OpenAI, in December 2015. And they want to make this AI technology available to everyone. Well, yeah, I guess they do, because this is part, in my opinion, part of the plan of enslaving the masses into this beast system, to where the people, again, we go back to the blind masses that are oblivious to all this. And again, probably, outside of your viewing and listening audience, if we had quote unquote everyday people of the world, and we talk like this, 8 out of 10 people would say, those crazy guys, I don't want to hear any more of that. They won't even go there. Their minds are programmed not even to go there, to even give this a second of thought. So then I went a little further into this, and then I found out that Musk created this in 2016. He co-founded this company called Neuralink. It's neurotechnology, and what this is, what it comes down to in a nutshell, AI, artificial intelligence, it is, they want to link up the human mind through these neurotransmitters and I forgot, and a chip that they would put in. This would link the person to the machines. And so this is literally, according to what I have read here, the beginning of the merging of man and machine. And this is dangerous, Kev, because...
And Bill, they were even talking about, when you think about this type of thing, anyone would be forgiven for thinking, well, this is a pretty serious procedure. You're going to have to go into hospital for a long time. Well, no, because they were actually talking about pop-up kiosks just appearing in malls or wherever where people could go into it. And again, like I say, Bill, I can look at this both ways. And I appreciate you're kind of new looking into Elon Musk and things. And again, there's two ways of looking at him. Absolutely, as there is. And I don't know if he's good. I don't know if he's bad. But when he talks about AI, and you look at him talking about AI, he appears to be as fearful as we are. And he's one of the few people that goes as far as to call it demonic. Now that sounds at odds with everything we've just spoken about, right? Yeah.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it, Kev.
To act as his advocate, and I can sort of see where he's coming from here. He says, to prevent this apocalypse that we see on the horizon with AI and the demonic side of it, and he uses that word demonic. He says maybe the best way that we can do that is to make sure we stay lockstep with the technology. I know that it sounds weird, but to do that, then we should really merge with it sooner rather than later, so as we get that symbiotic relationship. Now, I know, there's various
garbage,
ways. Yeah,
this is a line of garbage, and this guy. And when you read further about him, it says Musk has stated that he does not pray or worship any being, although he has asked any entity that might be listening to help him with his launches and things of this nature. So this is an individual that has no faith. He doesn't believe in Yahweh at all, or Yahshua, Jesus the Christ. He has no faith whatsoever, yet he'll talk about demons. Now, think about this. This would be the same thing if you or I, if we started up a drug dealing business or something like that. We said, well, we'll get the opiates out to these people, but we'll stay on top of it to make sure that they're not getting, too far in.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Have you ever looked? I don't suppose you've seen his girlfriend either. She's quite interesting. She would be on a par. Put it this way: myself and Ryan Gable could probably do a show on his girlfriend. She's a rock chick.
Okay.
So you can imagine the rock symbology. Very dark, very dark. But again, I must admit that I am a big fan of him. And he got his money, just briefly to explain. He got that from PayPal. Him and, who was
it? 24 billion?
He got that, and then he was able to, I know. He got his money, and he started his rocket company and everything else. But I think when you watch Elon Musk, some people even go as far as to say he's not even human. Some people say he's a clone.
I was thinking the same thing when you said that. I was thinking to myself, I'm not even sure that this individual's human.
I tend to think he's more probably on the genius savant kind of level, where he says as a very young child, he just couldn't quieten down his head. And for me personally, I see him as one of these almost game changers, not on a par with Nikola Tesla, but somebody who's like genius level, and it's out there thinking that appears different and weird because it's on a different level. Now, does that make him good? Does it make him bad? Jury's still out on that for me, Bill. And again, I can look and respect both sides of the argument.
He's a game changer for sure. Yeah. And that's a good term. And I'll tell you why. Because somebody like him is a huge social influencer. So somebody like this, he could sway the masses, just like what you're saying. He could sway the masses into accepting this and saying, well, Elon says it's not that bad, and let's give it a try. Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. Anybody who tries this, you're cut off from God. It's over. Now, I'm not God, and I'm not speaking for God, but I'm telling you the truth through the scriptures that those who accept the mark of the beast, nobody's putting any chip in me. I'll guarantee you that, be over my dead body. Those who accept this are cut off from God. There's no coming back. They're done. They're merged with the satanic beast system, and they are going to perish with the satanic beast system. So this is a warning to all now.
If we tie this in with what the Bible says, I mean, does this fit with the kind of thing? If we use the modern language, and it's hard to make it fit sometimes, I get that because our language is different, but do what we see rolling out now, i.e. Neuralink chips, definitely part of scripture in your opinion, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, now think about this. And one doesn't have to be a Christian to think about this and really consider what I'm about to say. Anything artificial going into your body, especially when it comes to integrated circuitry and things that are connected to computers, and that's dangerous stuff. You're putting that into your body, and say the person, gets that, put into their body, which they take a needle and insert, and usually it goes into the center part of the hand, the right hand. Suppose that person comes awake after they've had this and they go, oh, dear God, what have I done? You know, I've made a mortal mistake here. And then they become part or want to become part of some type of resistance network. There could be somebody on the other end of that and just through a keystroke go blip, you're dead. It could be that easy that someone could be on the other end of that technology and just do a couple things or one thing on a keyboard and it's over. Death.
Now, Bill, if this is the actual system, okay, the one that has been prophesized, and again, I need you to educate me on this one. Is there not a point at which, say it's this technology Neuralink, would there not be something almost like it's cursed along the way where it wouldn't quite get to fruition, i.e. God would step in mysterious ways to make it not work? Is that part of how it plays out? No.
I wish, Kev. I wish, but again, now think about this.
It's almost like yeah, it's all right. It's almost like switching off and burying your head in the sand, isn't it? It's okay. God's got
free will.
Yeah,
it's right. So this comes down to free will. So God created us with free will. This is why there's an adversary to mankind in the first place, based on this free will. So we are free to make our choices. And if people want to do that, well, certainly they're free to do it, and God's not going to stop them. However, the consequence will be catastrophic. I can't state this strongly enough. The consequences from this, whoever decides to join up with this or take this or whatever, it's the final part of destruction upon not only the human being, but the human soul. And I find it interesting also, there was one of these interviews that I watched with Elon Musk, and he was talking about this Neuralink, and I only watched a few minutes of it. I really, really, something about that guy, Kev. But he said something about keeping the soul and how to keep the soul pretty much contained and functioning and still going on. Now, okay, so now think about this. Yahweh created us. Our souls belong to him. So this little Elon Musk
Bill,
is talking about...
That's a little message from the chat room. It'll read it out in a little second, but it fits.
Tech and magic mix trouble, old prophecy.
Yeah, tech and magic mixing. Trouble starts. It's an age-old prophecy. Yes, and there's a lot of the magic that you see in the tech today. And it makes you wonder just how much of an influence Pazuzu and the other entities out there have really driven what we think is our original thought and idea, but perhaps doing the work of others, pimping out a system that they can come into. And it always makes me think, as optimistic as I am with the technology, and I love it, I do, folks, but when people go ghost hunting, rightly or wrongly, the best evidence is found in the electromagnetic frequencies, energies. And when we're getting more and more technologically advanced and more of that is going electromagnetic, it does make me wonder if we're almost making it more habitable for these entities here, even before we get to the lace, Bill.
Correct, you are. And so again, in my opinion, and I've said it many times and I'll say it again, the more technologically advanced we become, the worse off we are as a people. And so this is all by design. God knew this was going to happen. I believe all this has happened before. History repeats itself. All throughout the Bible, especially the Old Testament, you'll see that when the people rebel and when they start to go away from God, well, then God will send a prophet to them to try and bring them back before it's too late. And if they don't listen, then destruction comes. It's a reoccurring theme. So here we are again. We're facing this. Whether people want to believe this or not, I really don't care, because it doesn't change the truth. And the truth is that we are going way too far with way too many things, and it's becoming impossible, nearly impossible, to have a normal functioning life in our society now, because you've got to be careful of everything you say, everything you do. If somebody interprets something you said in the wrong way, you could be in trouble, all these types of things. I mean, and then when you couple that with the technology, it's as if we're already in a prison planet, and the masses, they just can't see it.
No, you're absolutely right. In the UK, the police even come to visit you about things that you post on Twitter. Not even anything offensive, just asking questions. But when they're there, they tell you to check your thinking. Literally the thought police in the UK. And you take a look at some of the stuff going on in the UK right now, I think there may be other things they should be getting into. But Bill, before we go away today, we started off the show talking about Pazuzu, stuff like that, and how this entity likes to possess. It identifies, first of all, vulnerable people that it'll make its victim. And this is where you come in. This is your bread and butter. This is where you go and help people on the front line, as I call it. How's it been lately? Any stories you can tell us? How's it been, man?
It's never ending. It's a never ending story, and it's a never ending journey. And I praise God for it. But I'll tell you, Kev, I've been so busy recently that I was getting near that burnout area to where, because I started making 2 trips a week. Usually it's 1 trip a week, but it's been so busy lately that it's been 2 trips a week. And boy, when you're doing that, that means you're not home much. And when you're constantly out there like that, and whether you're in airplanes or, on the road or whatever it may be, it starts to wear on you. And so I praise God for always bringing me back and recharging me. And I'm happy to tell you, over the last couple of weeks, it's been great because I've been able to be home. I've helped people locally. Plus, when I'm home, I do Skype sessions and over the phone sessions as well. And so that has really helped me to be recharged and reinvigorated again. But it is, for anyone out there who thinks that this is easy and that this is glamorous or whatever, you're very mistaken. This requires, number one, tremendous faith and dedication to God. What I do is a calling from God. I didn't choose to do this. God called me to do this. And if not for the power of God and his blessing and favor and power and protection, there is no way on this earth that I would be able to do the things that God does through me. So I give him endless praise and thanks for this. But if a regular, normal person were to go out and try and do this on their own accord, Kev, they couldn't do it. It'd be impossible.
Absolutely, brother. And before we go, I'd like for you, if you can, to say a few words to people out there. And there might be people listening right now who might be at wit's end. They might think they're going mad, but they might think the people all around them, if they speak to them about things going on in their life, they'll think they're mad. Bill, a lot of people, they tune in to hear you because your voice carries power. And I know you don't attribute any of that power to you. And that's why I love you as well. You don't take any of the credit. You're the most humble guy I know. And I'm just going to give you the floor now to say a few words before we go for anyone out there who needs it.
Well, I want to thank you again for having me, Kev, and love to you and your family, and hi to your wonderful mother, Pearl, and much love, and God bless you, Pearl, and your brother, Ken, as well. And everybody out there, thank you for listening in and watching. And though what we are talking about or have talked about here, they're heavy topics. They do sound the alarm bells. The good news is that if we have a real and true and authentic relationship with God, no matter what happens, we don't have to fear because God's with us and God will make a way for us. So if God's with us and for us, who can be against us? No one. So this is why I don't have any fear in my life. I report these things because I'm concerned about others. I'm not concerned about myself or my wife or those that are making God first in their life. I'm concerned about the people who don't understand these things. So it is a mission for me that I believe God has called me to do as well, is to make people aware. So for anyone out there who may be suffering in a bad way, whatever it may be, don't hesitate to contact me. BillJBean.com, BillBean.net, BillBeanMinistries.com, whatever it may be, or punch my name into Google. You'll find me. I'm busy, but never too busy to help somebody. So please don't hesitate to contact me if you're in a bad way and you need help. By the power of God, He'll work through me to help you. And I praise God for that. And I want to just wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas. Despite talking about the things that we've talked about, I pray that 2020 will be a blessed year for everyone. And we'll end this with a prayer, Kev. Father, I thank you and praise you for this blessed and appointed time. And I thank you and praise you for this blessed brotherhood and friendship with Kev. And I thank you and praise you, Father, for all the wonderful blessings that you bestowed upon us. And I ask that you continue to bless him and his family with an abundance of love, peace, joy, good health, and prosperity. And I pray that for everybody that is out there watching or listening in, I bind and rebuke any and all demons that might be trying to bother, torment, or afflict anybody out there in any way, and I cast them out and off and away from everybody. And Father, I ask that you just bless everyone that's tuning in here with an abundance of love, peace, joy, good health, and prosperity for life. We give you the praise and the thanks and the glory, Father, forevermore, in Jesus' name.
I'll be back tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Bean, BillBean.com. Check him out wherever you are. Make it TFR. There we go, Bill. And we're just going to wrap up and we're going to say goodbye to the YouTube audience. Now I want to thank you again for your time, Bill. And I'll obviously get a quick chat with you after.
Yeah.
We play some
and
of my...
Thank you, everybody on YouTube. And we appreciate it.
Big time. Yeah, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. I want to thank everyone for being respectful of the various belief systems that we all have out there. That's what I love about Bill as well. He is very, very open to anyone. And that's the way we all have to be, folks. We can't put walls up around us because of maybe differences here or differences there. Myself and Bill. Bill has one way of looking at Elon Musk. I have another. Neither of us know if we're right, and we still love each other at the end of it. And I think that's a good example of how you should go away from this show. And when you're listening to people who might hold an opinion different to yours, respect it. Listen to them, because that's the very least that you would expect if you were given the chance to talk as well. So, Bill, I thank you again, brother. I'm going to get you signed up to the Elon Musk fan club after we speak after the show. No, thank you, Bill. We're out of here, folks. Remember what I say, keep your mind open. Keep looking for woo, but don't get to the point where your brain turns to black goo. We're out of here, folks.